All right. Oh, goodness. Huh? Okay. Quick question. How many of you would rather just watch Stranger Things 2 instead? No. Put your paws down.
I completely forgot that came out today.
Yeah, so did a bunch of other people. They're going to start leaving soon. No. So much for sparing my feelings, guys, really. No, seriously, that's really neat for all you guys to come and watch me pretend like I know what I'm doing.
Isn't that what your panel's all about?
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I'm a natural at this.
We're learning already.
Yes, okay. Well, so let's go ahead and get things started. So to start with, who the heck am I? That can be an interesting question when you're a furry. Am I right?
Yeah.
Wait, there's furries here?
I'm
This is a scaling convention.
in the wrong place.
Yes, I was wondering if we were just at the retired football mascot convention. No, well, my name is Josh, and I'm a feather shy of 30 years old, but I have been told multiple times that I look like I'm 17.
That's true. You're very young, man.
But that's okay, because apparently I'm going to love that when I'm 50. I also go by Ein. Ein is my fursona scale sona. I've never been 100% sure what the proper term for that is. But yeah, he's been my sona.
You're an animal.
Yes, that. for a while now. He is a feathered water lizard. There's a story there, but we'll get to that. And he is also one of the main characters of a webcomic that I do called Aw Feathers, which you can read at awfeathers.com. But not right now. Pay attention. Get off your phone. Just kidding. What am I? I'm not your teacher. Aw Feathers is a slice of life furry webcomic that updates weekly. Fur, scales, fins, or feathers, everyone has a story. That's kind of the point of the comic. Everybody has a story, and everyone has a different story, and every one of those stories deserves to be told. And Aw Feathers is about our differences and our diversity, but not just diversity of race, but of our backgrounds and our experiences, and the very real and honest and personal stories that come out of that. I don't want to oversell it. Everybody, just after the convention, you should go look it up. And as I said, Ein is one of the main characters, but I try really, really hard to not make him a Mary Sue.
What does that mean, Mary Sue?
Mary Sue is a character that is too good to be true, or especially a character that represents the creator's fantasy of who they wish they could be, or how they imagine themselves to be. So, I try to keep him real, and I try to keep all the characters in Aw Feathers real. Lately, I've also been going as Lark. Lark is a blue secretary monitor. I haven't come up with a snappy species name for him yet. He's a secretary bird with blue feathers and a water monitor tail. So I like hybrids, especially reptile-bird hybrids. And one of the reasons I use him as an alternate to fursona, scale sona, feather sona, I don't know, sona, is, in order to kind of differentiate myself as the creator of Aw Feathers. So that when I'm interacting with readers, for example, there's not as much confusion over okay, am I acting as myself as the creator, or am I role-playing as Ein, one of the characters? And that's been useful for me. I will answer to all three during the convention. And I'll be appearing as all three. You may have seen me running around as Ein. I plan on being at the dance either tonight or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, as Ein. So I'm going to cut some rug. You don't want to miss that. That'll be fun. I made that suit myself a few years ago, so don't judge. It's the scene show. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, do judge then. You can also see me in the dealer's den. Many of you probably already have. table number 13. Nothing bad has happened so far, so I guess that's a lucky number this year.
Yay!
But right now, I will be representing myself as Lark, the creator of Off Feathers. And to go along with that, as I said, everyone has a story, including me. So something weird happened to me in 2014. I started a webcomic. It's been a really weird but really fun adventure. But why I say it's weird is because I am an amateur. I am not a writer. I'm not really an artist. I'm not a businessman, and I'm barely even a web designer. I'm a software engineer by trade. A software engineer that got tired of all these stories inside my head wanting to get loose. And so I finally decided to try a craft that others, many at this very convention, have been trying out ever since they could get their paws on a pencil. But I gave it a try, and I've been going at it for about 3.5 years now. Yeah, thank you.
Yes!
Appreciate that. Wow, it can only go downhill from here, so panels over. No, just kidding. We have some Off-Feathers enthusiasts in the audience, as you can see, or Aw-thusiasts, as I like to call them.
I'm still number one, though.
Yes, the very first ever Aw-thusiast right here. So one day I was at a Halloween event at a local comic shop. The owner was looking for local comic artists and asked me if I wanted to come and kind of show off some of my stuff and do some sketches for people that were going to be there for a special Halloween event. I kind of felt like he was scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I'm not one to pass up an opportunity for free publicity, so I accepted. And he set me up between two other real comic artists. And by that I mean artists who draw comics for a living. They're good at what they do, is what I'm trying to say. And I got to chatting with one of them that was next to me, and he asked me what I do, and I very meekly told him about this webcomic that I kind of do on the side, just as a hobby, no big deal. And in a very self-deprecating manner, kind of told him that it was amateur hour right next to him. And he looked at me and very kindly but sternly pointed and said, "No, you are a professional. Look at what you're doing. You're making a story that people read and enjoy." And that was true. I'd been updating consistently, more or less every week, for a couple years at that point. He pointed at my table and said, "Look, you have a book." And that was true too. It wasn't exactly flying off the shelves, but it was something that I worked really hard on and I was proud of. He said, "You are a professional because you act like one." And not for the first time, a light bulb kind of went off in my head. There's no rite of passage. You don't need anyone's permission to be a professional. You just need to start acting like one. So that's why I wanted to share a few thoughts and suggestions of things that have been helpful to me as in my admittedly limited experience as a content creator. I've titled my remarks, let's see, about almost 10 minutes in, and we're just getting to the title. At least we beat Pacific Rim. How to act like a pro when you feel like an amateur, or, whoops, HTALAPWYFLAA for short. HTALAPWYFLAA. Good, class. Okay, well, if you're a computer nerd like me, you know the most logical place to start is number 0. And for me, number 0 is to get buy-in from your significant other, or significant otter, if applicable. Now, I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but if it does, it is very important.
What's buy-in?
Support. So I found out not too long ago, well, I had long suspected, but I had it confirmed recently that I am married to a superhero. She's sitting right here. I call her Wonder Mare. And she's been a wonderful support to me. She's been enthusiastic of Aw Feathers from the very first day that I told her about this crazy idea I had. And if you have...
He's still crazy.
Yes. She can attest to that.
All time.
If you have that special someone in your life, I highly, highly encourage you to involve them in your plans because it will affect your relationship. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it will affect it because of the time commitment and sometimes the sacrifices that will be involved. And done well, it can actually enhance your relationship. So involve them in the process if that's applicable to you. So moving on to number 1, and that is just start. Don't wait until you're ready. Or in other words, do it!
Make your dreams come true.
Yes, thank you. So if I had waited until I was ready to start a webcomic, I probably never would have started it. There would always be something that I didn't feel was quite ready for prime time. There's this idea that we sometimes have that we need to get good before we create something. And that's actually reverse. The creative process, more than anything else, is what will help you to improve. And to go along with that, actually finish something. Jake Parker said, finished, not perfect. Finishing a thing is way more important than having something that's perfect, but not finished. Jake Parker, he is the pioneer of the Inktober movement. He's very good. He's a very talented illustrator. He knows what he's talking about. So to go along with that, commit to finishing something. For me, what worked really well was committing to a weekly release schedule. Even when there was something that wasn't quite right, I would release it anyway because every minute spent trying to polish something that wasn't quite perfect was a minute that could have been spent on the next comic page. And as I said, if I had done that, the next page would never get done. So finished but not perfect. Don't wait until you're ready. That's the first bit of advice. Number 2, start small. Don't bet it all. That's another good mantra. You hear from a lot of people and some really clickbaity, like a dozen things that successful people do.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, like you gotta take big risks in order to be successful. You know who you never hear from? The people who bet the farm and then lost the farm.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't take risks, but take calculated risks. Find out what risks you can afford to take, and shoestring it as much as you can before it becomes profitable. Start small with your equipment. It's tempting to think that going out and buying all of the best, most expensive equipment will make you a better creator, a better artist, a better musician, a better writer. But it's not the equipment, it is the creator. So start small, and once you become good with what you have, then you can start to expand on what you have. This also applies to your habits. I made a goal not too long ago to draw at least one thing every day. I'm not always good at staying up on that, but I try really hard at the end of the day, if I haven't drawn anything, to at least do a quick doodle on the Sketch app on my phone. And ideally I would do more than that, but at the very least I draw something. And I've actually seen some improvement in some of the things that I've drawn from doing that. So don't underestimate the small steps as well. The third thing is to put yourself into your work. You may have heard some people say that everything has already been done. So why try?
Oh.
Well, because not everything has been done in your way. You can put your own unique spin on it. Let's see. I was talking to... Whoops, hang on. Intermission. There we go. Okay. Intermission over. So, I was talking to Dana Clare. Dana Clare is the creator of a webcomic that's actually in print now in several newspapers called Phoebe and Her Unicorn. And I loved what she told me so much, I asked her if I could quote her, and she said, go ahead. And what she said was, Something about the way I put a lot of myself into what I do seems to connect with people. To me, there's something mysterious about how it works, magical even. I love that. Speak in your own voice. Make things you would want someone else to make. If there's a formula for attracting an audience as an artist, it's something like that. So create things that you would want others to create and put your own voice into it. Say things in the way that you would say them. And to go along with that, put yourself out there. No one can hear your voice if you don't speak up. There are a lot of opportunities to do this if you'll just look around and ask. What percentage of them will you get? Probably not 100%, but probably not 0. And definitely a lot more than you would get if you never asked and just waited for those opportunities to fall into your lap. And the start small principle applies here as well. Don't just, if you can't get the big impressive gig, then start small, start local. Check out events at a local library or, I don't know, host a panel at a local furry convention. While you're doing all this, be deliberate with how you spend your time. Take control of your time. It is your most valuable resource, so make sure you're spending it on the most valuable things. So many things in life seem to steal time from us. Steal time back. As an example, I recently started taking the bus to work a few days a week, even though when I crunched the numbers, it takes longer than driving and cost a little bit more than it would in gas if I just drove myself. But that's about 30 to 40 minutes that I can sit down and do some sketches or write down some ideas. So essentially, the extra money that I'm spending is going towards buying back a half hour of my time. Things like that is what I'm talking about. Be deliberate with your time. Use, turn your phone into a productivity tool instead of something that saps away your time. I'm not saying don't spend time. Excuse me. I'm not saying not to spend time on things you enjoy, but make sure that it's deliberate. And to go along with this, how do you know what is the best thing to spend your time on? Well, there's this debate that kind of drives me a little bit crazy, and that is the debate of talent versus passion. In one corner, you have people like self-help author Cal Newport, who tell you things like, follow your passion is dumb advice. You need to find out what you're good at and get really good at it and become so good at it that people can't ignore you. And then in the other corner, you have people like Howard Taylor, creator of Schlock Mercenary, which is a really successful webcomic, who says, talent is overrated. Find something that you're passionate about, something that will get you out of bed in the morning. Well, between you and me, if Cal Newport and Howard Taylor went head-to-head, I know who I would be betting on. But they do have something in common. I found things of value from both of those people, actually, and from both camps. And the thing that they seem to have in common is hard work. You better be willing to bust your tail over whatever it is that you want to become professional at. Whether it's something that you become really talented at and you just hone your craft until you become the very best, like no one ever was.
Gotta catch up. You all.
Where was I? Oh, yeah. Or if it's just something that you're really passionate about and something that just gets you really excited, something that you just love doing, whatever it is, make sure that it's something that you're willing to work hard at, because it will take a lot of hard work. So while you're working hard, you need to make sure that you're giving your ideas room to grow. Okay, let's unpack that. So every creation starts with an idea, and every idea starts in your head. Turns out our heads, our brains, our minds are very good at coming up with ideas, but they are kind of bad at remembering them. I can't tell you how many times I've thought of an idea for a comic or something else and thought like, ooh, that's good, I'm definitely going to remember that. Oh, what was it?
Too many times.
Too many times. So, write down your ideas as soon as you have them. Or, as soon as feasible. Make sure that you put them in a place where you can keep track of them. And if you're the kind that likes to take physical notes, like pen and paper or stone and chisel, I don't know, gold plates or something like that. Make sure that you digitize your notes once in a while. I lost a notebook once with a bunch of ideas in it. That was such a bad day. My wife can tell you, I was really, really sad.
I even helped look for it.
Yeah, we looked all over the place. I couldn't find that thing. So make sure that you digitize them periodically so that if you lose the notebook, you at least still have the notes. And also, don't be afraid to jot down the dumb ideas. For a couple of reasons. For one thing, it's hard to tell sometimes in the moment what ideas are really dumb and what ideas just seem dumb at the time, but you can actually turn into something actually pretty cool. And for another reason, it may actually spark a good idea. I've heard that that's actually a good creative process to deliberately think up of dumb ideas, and that can get the juices flowing so that you think of the next good idea that's going to become something great. Now, speaking of dumb ideas, number 7 is to experiment. Number 7 is to give yourself permission to take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. So try out new styles, new tools, new techniques. Be willing to drop the things that aren't working, but try out new things so that you can find out what does work. If you already have an audience that you're releasing content for, be sure that you don't violate the already established expectations that audience has. But do involve them in this. Share your experiments with them and get feedback from them. And speaking of segues, number 8 is to get feedback. You can't know where you need to improve if you don't get feedback from others, because we are all very bad critics of our own work. And I mean that in 2 ways. Sometimes we can't see our flaws, and other times we can't see what's good about our work. So get it out there. Be humble and acknowledge your flaws. Accept criticism. And don't take it as a personal attack, even when it's meant to be. Engage with your critics, but don't escalate. More on that later. Number 9 is to seek professional help.
I don't know about that one.
Okay.
It all started when I was 4.
Not that kind of professional help, but she actually is a really good therapist. What I mean is to follow creators that you admire and to, once again, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Ask them for advice. Find out what they do well and even what you think that they could improve. Email them. Like I said, I talked to Dana Claire because I emailed her with a few questions that I had, and she was very, very nice. Let's see. Jenner, creator of Doc Rat. That's another webcomic that's really, really good. He emailed me it was like a novel, and it was chock full of really, really excellent stuff. So email creators that you admire, and I hope they don't get mad at me for suggesting that. But you'll find that some of us just really like to talk about ourselves, I think. But also we like to help people who are passionate about the same things that we are. Read books and articles, listen to talks and podcasts. I have too many to share right now, so I actually put up on my website, allfeathers.com/resources. I put a few there, and I'll keep that updated with others as I find them. Like I said, talks and articles and things that have been helpful to me. And not some are specific to webcomics, others are for any creative field that you want to go into. Let's see. I don't really have a cool segue for this next one, so moving on to number 10. Number 10 is actually 3 rules. So 10A is to be kind. 10B is to be kind. And 10C is to be kind. Good, class. Hey, this doesn't actually come from me. This comes from Dave Kellett, another very successful webcomic creator. He says, "My friends, we cannot say it enough times. Be kind, be kind, be kind." Even when others aren't kind to you. That's gonna happen. Yeah, just shouting those hashtags. Even when that happens, and especially when that happens, be kind in return. Be kind anyway. At the risk of sounding preachy, this is one of the most important things that you can do for at least two reasons. One, it's just the right thing to do. We don't always know what people are going through. We don't know what makes people want to be mean, especially on the internet. And sometimes we're not a very good judge of when somebody's actually being mean, especially on the internet. And you never know when responding in a kind manner to someone who wasn't very kind to you might even make their day a little bit better. And the other reason that I've found is that it will make you stand out. Trolls, wise guys, and smart Alex are a dime a dozen. A nickel a dozen on the internet. I don't know what I don't know what the going rate is these days, but
25 rupees.
with so many content creators, it's important to stand out. And being kind, even when people aren't kind to you, is one of the ways in which you can stand out. If you want to win hearts and make friends and grow your audience, being kind is one of the greatest ways that you can do that. And while you're at it, lighten up a little. You don't need to treat your fellow creators as competitors all the time. It's great to help each other out. It's synergistic because everybody has their own ideas and their own. Everybody has their own ideas and experiences, and we can help each other out with this really fun but really difficult undertaking of creating content. And while you're working on being kind to others, the last thing I wanted to talk about is to be kind to yourself. I wanted to stop on a nice round number. So number 11 is to be kind to yourself. Take care of yourself physically, first of all. I understand this is a little bit personal, but make sure that you're getting enough sleep. My wife just laughed. She can
Late nights, huh?
Not getting enough sleep yourself.
I'm a hypocrite at that one. No, I mean, I try, and I have noticed that when I try to get enough sleep, I actually work a lot better the next day. Better than I would have if I had just stayed up late trying to cram in the next thing. Make sure that you're eating well and exercising, because once again, if you're physically well, it's easier to work hard. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself mentally. Make sure that you're learning new things, that you're practicing your craft, that you are working on the things that you're bad at so that so you can get better at them. And make sure that you're taking care of yourself emotionally. Surround yourself with positive people. And I don't just mean sycophants that tell you that everything you touch turns to gold. I'm talking about the people who are your real friends, who will stick by you whether you're having a good day or a bad day, whether you created something gold or something that is crud. And push yourself. But don't be so hard on yourself. Because you're always going to feel like an amateur. It turns out that the harder we work at this and the better we get, the greater our expectations become. So we're always going to feel like amateurs. But that doesn't mean that we can't act like pros. So I wanted to thank you guys for coming and listening to my remarks. But as I said, it's important that we help each other out. I wanted to open things up if anybody has any questions for me, whether it's about me personally or about the webcomic, or even if you have any comments or tips that you yourself would like to share. And afterwards, go visit offeathers.com and come see me in the dealer's den. Yes?
Does everybody, Are there some people that don't feel like an amateur, but they do feel like a pro?
Are there people who don't feel like amateurs but do feel like a pro? I don't know. I mean, there probably are people who feel like pros but really aren't.
Plenty of those, folks.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to name fingers or point names, but no. And you know, they tend to be the ones that don't accept criticism very well. Actually, I've noticed. Not from personal experience, but.
I would think both of those traits where you feel like a pro when you aren't, and don't take accept criticism, sounds like traits of narcissism. Yeah, and I've just found that every successful creator that I have followed has been really humble about their weaknesses, and you look at them and you feel like, are you kidding me? Gosh, if I could be as good as you, but be humble and acknowledge your faults and weaknesses, but like I said, remember that you do have strengths as well, and there are ways that you can become even better. Did I see another hand?
Yes.
Yes, please.
So in the day and age of the internet, what do you do about your ideas getting stolen and used by someone who's quicker at making it than you are?
Okay, the question was, I'm recording this, just so I'm going to repeat it. The question is, what do you do about people stealing your ideas, or how do you prevent that from happening? Is that kind of the...
Yeah, well, it's people who are faster at doing it than you are, they can see where you're going, so they go make something else.
Oh, so someone can see where you're going and kind of cut you off at the pass?
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think, like Dana Claire said, put yourself into your work. If you're not doing that, a lot of times it'll show, and, I haven't really run across that. Sometimes you will encounter things that are similar to your own work. All Feathers is not the only furry webcomic. It's not the only furry slice of life webcomic, and it's not even the only furry slice of life webcomic that features LDS characters. In fact, I can think of furry experience. What we remember the most. Those are at least two others. But like I said, everybody has their own spin on things, and so sometimes it may seem similar to what you're doing, but you can still put your own voice on it and make it uniquely yours. That's all I can really say about that. In cases where somebody is actually plagiarizing your work, I'm not a lawyer, so make sure you hire a lawyer who acts like a professional. Yes?
When you're first starting out with your webcomic, is it better to start it on its own individual website, or to use another website like DeviantArt or Affinity to base it on when you first start?
Okay, so the question was, should you start your own webcomic on a dedicated website or on some other website like DeviantArt or Fur Affinity? Well, the thing about DeviantArt and Fur Affinity is that the framework is already there, and so it can be really easy to test new ideas, experiment like I was talking about. And so, don't be afraid to put your stuff there. And once you see that something's working, though, I highly recommend getting your own your own website. Even if it's through something like Smack Jeeves, that's what I use. They have a lot of framework already there, but they let you use your own domain name. That's how I'm able to have offeathers.com instead of offeathers.smackjeeves.com.
Offeathers.middle.
Dot what?
.middle.
So once you find something that's working, I think it's great to start your own website, because then you have something that you can drive traffic to, something that you can start to grow a dedicated audience for. So that would be my recommendation. Any others? Anyone have questions for my wife? How to put up with someone who has a crazy hobby? What'd you say?
I said, why did you wear this win bag?
What?
Win bag.
What? Why isn't she what?
Marry this windbag.
Oh, why did I marry the...
You're not a win bag. I thought he was being fun. Yeah,
He is being funny.
He's not a windbag.
Are you getting bored?
No.
Am I keeping you from something?
No, I just wanted you to laugh.
Okay.
You seemed really nervous.
Did you have one?
No, I think someone already asked.
Oh, okay.
You have a-
Oh, was it the windbag question? Were you going to ask that? Okay. Yes.
I do have a question. How much is your character on how much does your persona June match the character of June in the comic?
Like how closely I relate to June in the comic.
Yes.
It's pretty good on certain things. Down to the nurse. Can I tell about the CNA?
Yeah, dude.
If you followed it and got to that certain point when she's talking about classes and stuff like that, nursing, I did take a CNA class.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that was similar to me.
Okay.
And I did have a pet fish named Ricky Ricardo. So I didn't eat him. He did die, but he actually passed away while we were on our honeymoon. So
If you're not getting any of this, you need to read the comic. So, yeah, as I was saying, draw from your own experiences, and that's kind of what I've done. Not to, it's things that happen in Off Feathers aren't exactly things that have happened in my life, but I have drawn from some of my own experiences and some of my wife's experiences as well. Yes.
This is more to Marissa, actually.
Okay.
The character June is often preoccupied with her marital status. Is that something that was once on your mind also? I always wondered that.
like being concerned that she was single?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
He's always thinking, oh, I'm a 20-something young woman and I don't have 3 kids yet.
That was actually not me. I was actually okay with it. He asked me, and I was like, yeah, that's fine.
I sometimes need to ask for permission to make June say or do certain things.
There was I have been in previous relationships before, but, it's, then after that, this guy, I actually almost moved out of the apartment before I started dating him. But something said, stay there, and ended up dating 2 months after, so.
Oh, you're going to make me blush.
I'm trying. It's working, isn't it?
I don't know, is it?
Yes.
Yes, please.
What is your advice on being careful with who you share your ideas with? So avoiding what he said with people stealing ideas, or even just critics who don't really know how to be critics. How do you be careful with who to talk about your stuff with?
Like pre-releasing ideas.
Yeah, how do you know who to share your stuff with?
Yeah.
So, I think, I personally think it's better to err on the side of sharing with more people rather than less. The good news is once you create something, it's protected under copyright. That doesn't mean that people can't steal ideas. Did you have a comment on this?
Yeah, from what I feel it's generally best to just share with everyone and more so direct your caution towards how do you react to the criticism and how do you value it.
Yeah, remember the picture with the angry dog barking?
Yeah.
The violent hashtags? Yes.
I mean, he does talk to people about different ideas, and he runs them through me too. And I actually help with a couple of the storylines too.
That's actually a good point.
So being a significant other.
Or significant otter.
Yeah. I do like to be involved with it because it does take time. We do have 2 kids. So there are some times where I do kindly put my foot down and say, can you help me for half an hour into something, or something like that.
Yeah,
but if it's a big passion and a talent of theirs, don't be afraid to let them do it. Do set aside time to have time together, though. That is very important.
As far as sharing, sorry.
Go ahead.
As far as sharing your stuff and getting feedback, I think what she said is really important. Like I share my stuff with her first of all. I share it with a small circle of trusted individuals after that and get feedback. After that, some of my stuff gets shared with patrons on Patreon.
have subscribed to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And then after that, it goes out to literally anybody who has an internet connection. And so I think it's important to share with as many people as you can, but also to, you'll start to learn over time which people give you the best feedback and the most useful stuff. Yes?
So do you ever have days where you just can't get yourself motivated to do a comic? And if you ever have, how do you get past that?
Writer's block.
Writer's block?
Yes. How do you defeat that?
What do you do when you don't feel motivated to work? Call me when you find out.
Something that works for me is have some chocolate.
Yeah? I mean,
Or talk to a friend that knows how to kick your butt to get back to work.
like her. So, I mean, it's...
What?
It helps to have a schedule. It helps to have structure. You say like, okay, this is my time to work on stuff. Gosh, sometimes this isn't a very satisfying answer, but sometimes you just need to do the thing you don't feel like doing. Because to kind of go along with, the first thing, don't wait until you're ready. Sometimes you can't wait until you feel like it either. There are going to be days when you don't feel like drawing, when you don't feel like writing, when you don't feel like arting. But again, if you just wait until you feel like it, you may never get around to it. And sometimes the act of actually starting on it will get those juices flowing and will help you to start to feel like it again.
Speaking of those children, when are you going to put Lizzie to work and get a guest comic out of her?
When I'm going to put my 3-year-old daughter to work on creating guest comics for me? I don't know. Currently, her works look like something created by Salvador Dali with his eyes closed and a fistful of crayons. Which, sure. You know what? Next time I have a guest comic event...
She does like the suit, though. She does like suit.
Yeah. Next time I have a guest comic event, maybe I'll have her make one. That might be fun.
Write it down.
Yes.
About what you were saying about sticking to a schedule and not just only drawing when you feel like it.
Mm-hmm.
I have bipolar disorder, so there are frequently times when I just, not only do I not feel like drawing, but I just can't draw. And not only that, but times when I do feel like drawing, but if I do, it just ends up really, really bad because I'm either so angry that I just can't do things right.
Yeah. I'll just say. So, and I can't speak to that because that's not within my experience, and I'm not a doctor or a therapist or anything like that. Once again, number 11, make sure that you're being kind to yourself and that you're taking care of yourself. But if you can, do try to push yourself, to the extent that you are able. I think that we might surprise ourselves with what we're capable of doing. And remember that you are going to have good days and you are going to have bad days. You're going to have days. I release pages sometimes that, like I said, I wish that I could just scrap and start over, but I got to keep moving if I'm going to keep releasing on time. So you say like, okay, well, this wasn't one of my better pages, but I'm going to own that. Yeah, I'm going to own that. I'm going to admit to it not being my best work, but then commit to trying harder on the next one. And sometimes that's all you can do, is to commit to trying and to keep trying.
Essentially just suck it up and move on.
Not in such a blunt manner, but sometimes you need to give yourself a little kick in the pants. But whatever it is that you are able to do and still keep yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally healthy. You want to say something?
No, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. We're on the same wavelength. Anything else? Okay, well, you guys have been awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you to Clarissa. Off Others would not be possible, and this whole experience of coming to AWU would not be possible without her help. So a hand for her as well, pretty please. All right, you guys, thank you. Let's enjoy the rest of the convention.
Don't drip.